Here
So
we go.
13.
Okay,
Go.
we're recording in 3, 2, 1. I'm just kidding. We're already recording, Pam. I know you want to do the introduction, so all right, Pam. You do the introduction. Go ahead. I promise I won't
Oh
interrupt.
man,
You
you
know.
just punked me.
There we go. You
Uh,
remember that show?
yeah, no, that's what I feel like my life is like. I'm like constantly just waiting for Ashton Kutcher to come out and tell me that I'm getting punked, but it just like it hasn't happened yet. 31 years
Yeah,
have gone by.
that's because
Um,
he's not going to use an Asian like me. That's for sure.
sure. So, anyways, hello everyone. Good evening. We are now on episode 13 of Strong by Lee and Power by Pam. What is it? SBP,
SBL,
SBL, and
SBL, and PBP.
PBP. Yeah. So here we are. We got some good stuff coming up. First, we're going to talk about me because what else would we talk about? And after we talk about me, we're going to talk about what's holding you back and being targeted by all of these ads, nonsense, all of this nonsense about, healthy options, healthy food that aren't really so great for you, but the media, they market you and they reel you in, and I've been a target of that many, many times in my life. So yeah, I don't know if you want me to start off with what's going on with me.
Yes. Well, not necessarily what's going on with you. You know how
Yeah.
we like to start off every discussion with kind of like a pseudo case study, either with you or somebody we know, one of
Yeah.
our clients. We'll start off with you.
Yeah.
I'll do the introduction this time. No,
Okay.
all right.
Go right ahead.
So we talked in our previous episode. I feel like this is a really good segue, very coincidental. In our previous episode, we discussed how long you should diet for.
Mm-hmm.
It was coming at a very coincidental time because Pam was kind of coming in around, I think it might be time for us to switch up our diet a little bit, or at
Yeah.
least make some modifications. Lo and behold, Pam and I were brainstorming, as coaches always do with their clients, or how to help their clients. We were brainstorming now that Pam is starting to show some diet fatigue, what kind of modifications can we make? We don't necessarily want to overhaul her whole diets. We want to make small changes because Pam thinks that is probably the best way to get someone's behaviors to stick. Make small changes first, make it manageable, make it specified. Pam, why don't you kind of run us through what was going on in your head? What were your thoughts, and what kind of recommendations we came to?
Yeah. So honestly, it's been about 3 months since I made these tweaks to my macros and my calorie range. And I had said in the last episode that I felt pretty soon that it was going to be time. And that you need to listen to your body. And so that's what I had been doing. I had been on a pretty steady weight loss, a half a pound to a pound a week. Obviously, it was like really tapering off to more of like a half a pound type of thing. And the recent weeks, it's been slow. But I've also noticed in the recent weeks that I'm starting to get hungry. And last week, I went back to the gym. And even though I was exercising before, when you go back to the gym, you have access to a lot more equipment and you could do a lot more types of things. And so me entering back into the gym last week was it was brutal, pretty brutal. I was sore all last week. But I mean, the thing is that I'm 100% burning more calories, 100% lifting heavier weight and all of that. And so it's really starting to take a toll on my body. And this past weekend when I had my meal that I usually have, I indulged a little bit too hard. And I also noticed that my body was holding on to the water retention from that through this week. And so, David and I decided that, instead of just saying, okay, I'm done dieting, because again, I don't feel like I'm done dieting. I feel like there needs to be somewhat of a small change. So what David and I decided was that I'm eating the same amount of calories through the whole week, except for that one meal that I have. And again, I do one meal. I do one big meal. I'm not telling people that that's what they need to do. It's just my preference. And I had the same macro range too. So we decided that on Wednesdays, that like midweek, that's also a day where I lift super heavy because it's a lower body day, that I would keep my protein the same, keep the calories the same, but I would drop my fat drastically, and I would drastically increase the amount of carbs that I was having. And so while I'll still be eating the same amount of protein, I'll still be having pretty much the same amount of calories. We even talked about probably a little bit less calories than what I'm accustomed to. I'm going to have a drop in fat and an increase in carbs. And the idea of doing that is to give my body more energy, more glycogen, so that I'm not going to be feeling so diet fatigued. That when I do come around to the weekend and I have a meal, whether it's going out with my friends or what it may be, that I'm not going to have that urge to be like ravenous and hungry, because that's what I noticed was starting to happen, was that I was able to stick to my macro range and my calorie range and my workout plan very flawlessly. But when that one meal came around, I was super ravenous, and I was probably eating more. I was definitely eating more than I would have liked to, more than I would like to admit, but I'm being transparent. It seemed more like a binge episode, if anything, like a mini one, and I was still dropping weight, like I this past weekend, I reached the lowest that I've been in years. But the whole thing is I want to continue to lose weight. And if I want to continue to lose weight, I have to be honest with myself. And that was something that I wasn't really doing in the past. I had said to you, if this was a year ago, 2 years ago, I probably would have brushed it off and have just tried to like put my body through it, and it would have backfired on me. But I'm listening to my body. I'm weighing myself more. And I use my weight not as a tool against me, but as a way that my body's telling me something. So if my body is spiking in weight substantially throughout the week from this one, binging episode, I'm holding on to water. I have some water retention, which means that my body is in some sort of maybe stressed state, and I need to do something about it. So here we are being proactive.
That's awesome, Pam. That's good. And I'm glad we were able to make those changes.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and break down what the carb-up is, what that means. And you answered my question. I was going to ask you, why should somebody even consider a carb-up? And you answered it, to give somebody more energy.
Yeah.
Let's break down why the carb-up may give somebody more energy. In your case, what you were doing before, you were doing a higher fat, not a high fat, a higher relative to what you were doing before, fat nutrition program with a relatively lower carbohydrate suggestion, recommendation, right? When somebody resistance trains, so resistance training will preferentially use carbohydrates for energy. When you resistance train and you resistance train regularly, your body will crave carbohydrate sources, starchy sources in particular, rice, potatoes, quinoa, oatmeal, breads, these types of things. Because your muscles act like sponges. When you work out your muscles, boom, 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 it's kind of like, let's say, for example, you had water in your muscles. The more you squeeze the sponge, the more you're going to not only expel the water, but increase the softness and the storage capacity of that sponge. So while the sponge is getting softer and the storage capacity goes up, water gets expelled, and that water, our metaphorical sponge in the water in our metaphorical sponge is sugar, because the body's using the sugar. So afterwards, though, the sponge is still soft. It's very sensitive. It's like, man, I want some more water. I want some more. So the muscles are saying, man, I want some more carbohydrates. But if you're on a lower carbohydrate diet, and with a lower carbohydrate diet, you are exercising, resistance training, doing high intensity work on a regular basis, you're not going to replenish that sponge, the muscle, with the carbohydrates that it really wants. You'll give it a little bit, but it probably wants more. And then over time, it slowly depletes. It's kind of like a one step forward, two step back process in terms of glycogen replenishment. Eventually, And this is the big, I think, eventually, or it depends for people. Eventually, when you get fit enough, not everyone should implement the carb-up. A lot of people, especially if they have a lot of weight to lose, a lot of fat to lose, not just weight, right? Because let's say somebody's pretty muscular, got a lot of muscle mass, and they just want to lean out. If somebody has a lot of fat to lose, and we've spoken about this before, Pam, and this is what you're currently doing right now with your clients, you're going to put them on a pretty consistent, steady calorie deficit diet.
Yeah.
Because you want their body to get used to being in a calorie deficit and dropping weights. That's what we're trying to get our body to do. But then when the client you make recommendations to gets lean enough, they're depleting their glycogen. And at that point, they want to replenish the glycogen every once in a while because the muscles are asking for it. The muscles are asking for more energy. So the carb-up is a way to replenish that muscle, the muscle glycogen, for people who are already pretty fit and are on a consistent exercise routine and are depleting their glycogen. So if you, let's say, my rule of thumb is if somebody has more than 20 pounds of fat to lose, I would not implement a carb-up just yet.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we do a carb-up, which is what you and I are doing together, you'll start off at once a week. And like you specified, you'll do it on the day which you know you're going to be putting in a lot more work, because how much work you put in, there's a positive relationship between how much work you put in and how much glycogen you burn off. So that would be the best time for you to replenish that muscle glycogen.
Looking forward to it because I love my carbs.
She loves her carbs. She loves her oatmeal. She loves her potatoes.
My oatmeal. Oh man, I love the potatoes.
You love them.
And I just want to clarify too that throughout this whole thing, I've continued to eat oatmeal and I've continued to eat potatoes, just in smaller amounts, more controlled amounts. But
good, like we were saying, good things do not last forever. So if you're seeing good results, don't get overconfident, don't get complacent, because eventually that will come to a stop. That's when you have to make some adjustments.
Yep.
Perfect. Good. Yeah, bro. Good. We're going to talk about what is holding you back. I love the mindset stuff, man. Let's do it. We're going to hit it up. Okay, Pam, what do you have? What do you have in store? What is on your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that there was nothing specific that sparked this for me, but something that I had been thinking of recently is people are responsible for themselves. And I find that people are really great at creating excuses for themselves, that they create the excuse that, I had said this to you, not myself, but someone might say, I couldn't work out today because I stayed at work for an hour and a half longer than usual. And it's like, you couldn't work out today, or you wouldn't work out today. Or, for example, the holidays, next month is Easter. Oh, I didn't lose weight in the month of April because Easter. And it's like, Easter was one day. What happened to the other 30 days that are in that month? And I find, and again, I used to be like this too, that people are the one, you are holding yourself back, and you are the one that is creating these excuses. So dropping the excuses is what I feel like people need to do in order to be successful. If you look at people that are very fit and very successful on their journeys, and you ask them things that they do, not only is it consistency and it's patience, and but they follow through on what they're supposed to do. So Rachel Hollis, she has a big business. She has created all sorts of resources for women, and she's an entrepreneur, and she has created such a fantastic life for herself. And one of the things that she's done is she's written several books. One of the books, her first, I would say like memoir type of book, was Girl Wash Your Face. And in one of the chapters, she talks about holding herself accountable. And in one of the chapters, she talks about how she went out for a girls' night with her friends, and then she cut the night early, and she said, I have to go home and work out. And her friends were like, what? And she was like, yes, I made a date with myself to work out. And now I need to go and do this thing that I said that I would do because I need to follow through. And she's like, think of someone that you know that is flaky, that cancels plans, that doesn't follow through. And she's like, would you want to be friends with that person? Probably not. So she's like, why would you do that to yourself? You know, like, why would you cancel on yourself? Why would you say that you're going to work out when Monday rolls around and then you don't? Why do you say that you're going to eat healthy, but then you don't? So it's almost like you're creating an excuse for yourself, that you're like almost sabotaging your own self. And I feel like people make excuses like, I can't lose weight because I've always had a hard time. Well, guess what? I have a really hard time losing weight, and somehow I was able to manage it. I feel like I'm blabbing on right now.
No, you're on track.
My whole point is that when you look at where you are and you're unhappy with it, you need to ask yourself, what excuses am I giving myself that are holding me back from being successful? Because if you're constantly using the same excuses over and over and over again, I don't have time to work out, I don't have time to eat healthy, then it's time to check yourself and ask yourself, what things can you do to get yourself where you want to be? Even just with working out, like, I understand. Listen, I'm single. I'm not married. I don't have kids. So I really don't have anything holding me back from working out. However, you always could get up earlier to work out. You always could work out later at night. If you want it, you could do it. If you're saying that I don't have time to meal prep, then maybe look into a meal prep service, or, you know, find the cheapest and the quickest meal prep that you could possibly do, like overnight oats. You could make a batch of that for the whole week in under 15 minutes, you know? So I think it's just about like finding what your excuses are, looking at what your excuses are, and being honest with yourself about what's holding you back from getting you where you need to be.
Why do you think people hold themselves back and make excuses?
I think people are afraid to change. I think people are naturally resistant to change. And I think that people function in a comfort zone. And it's true. And we've talked about the growth mindset and the fixed mindset. And I think that a lot of people would like to have that growth mindset, but they're very fixed about certain things. And when you think about someone wanting to change their habits when they're in their late 20s, their 30s, their 40s, their 50s, their 60s, you're asking them to change something that they've been doing for 30, 40, 50, 60 years. And so people are often resistant to that change. And people want to fall back in that comfort zone, and they want to continue to do what they've always done, failing to recognize that if you continue to do what you've always done, you're never going to get a different result. That's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and over again, but expecting a different result. Mm-hmm. And so when people go on a diet, and so, for example, me, when I did isogenics, I lost all this weight. It was fabulous, right? I didn't know how to enter a maintenance phase after that. And that diet failed me. I'm not saying isogenics failed me, but that diet failed me because going on that diet did not give me a healthy relationship with food. However, when I fell off track and I backtrack, I tried to do it again, expecting the same result. Meanwhile, though, the same thing happened. I didn't have a healthy relationship with food, so I fell off track and the same thing happened. And so then I replaced isogenics with another cleanse, and I kept doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result, giving the excuse that I can't lose weight because I've always had a difficult time. And this is a part of my genetics and a part of the way that my body was built, instead of failing to realize that I was using that excuse that I had a hard time losing weight. I could never lose weight unless I went on a diet or cleanse, not realizing that what was holding me back was the fact that I had a poor relationship with food. And I didn't know, I wasn't knowledgeable enough about nutrition. And I wasn't even knowledgeable enough about the correct strength training program that I should be doing to change myself. And then luckily you came along. And it wasn't one of those things where it's like you're making excuses, because I was working hard back then too. But it was one of those things where I then held myself accountable that I am where I am because I was doing X, Y, and Z for all these years. And now I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it. I'm embarrassed. Now I need to change. And I did something totally different than what I was used to. And I got a very different result.
I think you answered the question I was having. I just want to ask this question because I want to hash it out.
Yeah.
And I want to get a firm answer, but also I think the question is something that's relevant and pertinent to what we're talking about, to the people we're addressing. When you kept doing the yo-yo stuff,
yeah,
despite knowing that you have a hard time losing weight, why did you keep doing them? Is it like, I think you answered my question. So my question was, why did you keep doing the cleanses and the yo-yos and the crash diets? Why did you keep doing them despite telling yourself or believing that you are a person who can't lose weight? And I believe your answer was, at the time, you didn't know any better. You didn't have the knowledge. You didn't have the education. And then you and I met at a specific time when you were in the midst of that ignorance in the most respectful way.
Yeah.
Is that your answer to that question?
Yeah. 100%.
So maybe people would fall within that same trap. People are looking for solutions, but until they find that solution, they continue to do something.
Yeah.
They continue. It's, you know what this reminds me of? You know how some people go to the doctor, they know they're sick, but they go to the doctor anyway, just to reinforce that they're sick, and they still don't really do much about it.
Yeah.
It's their way of telling themselves they're doing something at least. At least I'm going to the doctor. That's showing, at least I'm showing myself that I cared about myself somewhat.
Yeah.
Maybe when somebody does the cleanses and does the juices, maybe in the back of their mind, they think, hey, this is probably not good for me, but I know, for one, it works short term. I also know I'm going to regain that weight later, but I don't know any better. I need help, but I don't know where to go, and I don't know how to reach out. That is, I think, the conundrum. When I asked you, why do you think people make excuses, and you said they're afraid of change, my next question is, and this is probably you, this is why you relate to so many people, because you understand, you've been there, you've been at that level, that you've been at that precipice of ambivalence, where you find, for some reason, you find comfort in being in pain. You said people are afraid to change. They have a comfort zone. But what if that comfort zone is a zone of pain where people are unhappy with themselves? They're sick, they're weak, they're hurting, but that's their comfort zone. Why do you think people stay in that zone and call it their comfort zone?
I think that people just don't know that there's other ways. And like, I think something we need to recognize, and I don't know if it's relative to what you're asking me, is that, we're all given the same 24 hours in a day. It's not like you or I or someone else has more hours given to them in a day. And yes, some people are more busy than others, 100%. But I think that when you look at those 24 hours in a day, that you need to look at how you are spending those 24 hours. And so I feel like people that are in pain and they want to change, but they're giving that excuse that, I work 12-hour shifts, or, I have 2 kids, or, I don't have time, I don't have money, that they need to look at how they're spending their day and where they could fit in something useful that will help them slowly change. So
That's
if
perfect.
you have a 30-minute block that is free, and guess what? It happens to be at 5:30 in the morning, then get up at 5:30 in the morning. Like, I know that sounds harsh. I really know that it does. But when you listen to the most successful people, they straight up will tell you, I get up at 5 a.m., I get up at 5:30 a.m., I get up at 6 o'clock a.m., and I spend an hour alone, or I spend 2 hours alone, or I work out when I wake up because it is the only time that I have to do that. And I stand by that. And I don't wake up early and work out because I'm super fortunate enough that I don't have that busy of a schedule. But there are times where, when my schedule has gotten hectic, that I look at when I can work out. And there has been times where I have said to myself, I got to get up at 5:30 and do it, because there's no other time that I could do it. That, or I'm working out at 9 o'clock at night. And for me, I'd rather do it early in the morning than later in the day. But, I feel like successful people also have non-negotiables for them. So if your non-negotiable is that you need to work out 3 times a week, then you got to figure out when you're going to do those 3 times a week. Or let's say you've been going to the gym 5 days a week and you're saying, I don't have time to meal prep. Go to the gym 4 days and use that one other day to meal prep. I feel like, again, you need to look at your day, how you're spending your time, and how you can make the most of that time. Are you saying that you don't have time to work out, but meanwhile, you're on the couch on TikTok and Instagram and watching TV? And I'll be the first to admit that I like to settle down around 7 o'clock at night, and because I go to bed at 9:30. So I like to have those couple hours, but there are times where it doesn't always happen. But if I'm settling down at 7 o'clock, it's because I have achieved everything that I have needed to for that day.
You bring up a really good point. Doing a day audit is what I call it, where you basically break down what your day looks like to find holes in your day where you can start taking care of yourself. I think that's one of the first things that I try to get people to do is take stock and inventory of your day and see if there are any holes. Do we have 15 minutes? Do we have 15 minutes where you can do a short routine? And this is, of course, for people who aren't doing anything, who are looking to get back into a routine, which is a vast majority of people we're going to be working with. Do you have 15 minutes? Yes. Are you willing to do something for 10 minutes? Yes. All right. Well, let's give it a shot. That's all that's required for now. Let's see if you can do something for 10 minutes. We have your commitment. We have your word. We have yes. And then after we do the day audit, where we become aware of somebody's day, then we implement, we plug in some sort of strategy. And then we say, okay, what type of rationale are they coming up with? What kind of excuses are they coming up with that are preventing them from performing whatever strategy we recommended, despite having the day audit, right? Because you and I agree, the first step to change is being aware of the need to change, the desire to change.
Yeah. I mean, point blank, and I apologize to anyone that thinks that I was being harsh. I just feel like there's a lot of people that really want to change, and they do, but their excuses, whatever excuse it is that they're giving, is what's holding them back. So if you want to change, if you really want to change, you have to identify what those excuses are, and you have to throw them out the window.
We're also in an age where anything you could possibly want to know about is at your fingertips. You can learn how to code. You can get a PhD online. If you want to get in shape, there are millions of videos on YouTube. that will teach you how to get in shape. They will teach you the
Mm-hmm.
concept of nutrition. They'll teach you the concept of fitness. You can become a certified personal trainer in name by just watching YouTube videos for 20 hours or whatever. People do that. People do that. So then when it comes to obtaining knowledge and information, that's really, to me, that's not a strong enough justification for why somebody wants to change.
Mm-hmm.
What you're talking about, people wanting to be in a comfort zone, makes a lot more sense. I think it's really important, though, for us to dig a little bit deeper, because in my eyes, being in a comfort zone is a symptom of something else. Why does somebody like being in the comfort zone? Why is somebody okay with being in a zone of pain and identifying that as comfort? Which is really interesting. I also think there is this aspect of being afraid of success. People may not want to lose weight because they're afraid of what their life will look like. They're
Yep.
afraid of how their life will change if their life changes. And I think that's part of a comfort zone too. For example, I'm going to use an example. Let's say a woman is 50 pounds over 30, 50 pounds overweight. She makes the commitment to lose weight. She loses the weight. And then all of a sudden her dating pool changes. What men who were once out of her league are now in her league. And while from a physical standpoint, she's attractive enough or whatever, her mindset and her personality is still at where she was when she was heavier. And it's really difficult for her to connect with these potential partners. I think that's just one example of how somebody may be afraid of success. Like if you're living a fit lifestyle, there might be things that somebody needs to do in order to maintain that fitness. And that might be scary.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I think that people are scared of what it would be like. I did have someone say to me not that long ago that they were afraid to lose weight because their clothes wouldn't fit them. And I was like, it's not a good enough, it's not a good, but listen, I understand it because I do remember years ago being very afraid of losing the weight that I needed to. It was like I wanted to, but I was afraid to do it because I was afraid of what it would look like to keep up with it and what I would look like. And again, like, oh my God, I have all these clothes and what's going to fit me and what's not going to fit me. And, and I had said to this person, I was like, I get it because I've been there before, but I'm like, your clothes not fitting you is not a good enough reason to not live a healthier lifestyle. And B, it's not like you're going to wake up one day and your pants are going to be too big. Like it happens over time. And that you have to lose like 15, 20, 25 pounds for your 30 pounds for your clothes to truly not fit you anymore. If anything, they'll start to fit you better because you're not going to be like, squeezing yourself into things.
You're talking about people who need to get on the positive side of things for sure.
Yeah.
And to give people an idea or to convince people that this isn't just, it's you and me talking, Pam and David, but to convince people that we're regular people, just like most people we work with, and we're not fitness fanatics and we don't get paid to work out. I remember when I was competing in powerlifting a couple of years ago, there were some numbers I wanted to hit. But in order for me to have been competitive to hit those numbers, I needed to gain weight. But if I gained weight, I would grow out of my wardrobe. I was already at the cusp.
Mm-hmm.
I had certain underwear that I liked. I wore certain warmer pants. There's a brand called Ray-Ban. You wear these Ray-Bans and they keep your hips warm. I was at a certain size and I was really at the edge. And if I had gained 5 more pounds, if I had moved up in weight class, I would have grown out of my wardrobe. I wasn't necessarily scared, but also I was avoiding. So for me, it was about, okay, what's more important to me right now? How am I defining success right now? Am I defining success as hitting certain numbers despite getting heavier, or am I defining success as being satisfied with where I currently am? And for me, at that time, I eventually decided my definition of success was staying where I currently was. Was that my comfort zone? Sure. Could I have eventually adapted to a new size? Sure. Would I have had to spend more money? Yes. At the time, though, I decided that it wasn't for me, and I came to accept it. On the flip side, though, that is for me, at least in my eyes, that's a good problem to have. All right,
Yeah.
man. If I size up, I'm gonna get stronger, but I'm also have to get new clothes.
Yeah, no, it is.
But also, according to what you're saying, we could frame it this way. Oh, man, you're afraid of sizing down? But think about how much healthier you're going to be. You're going to have to spend more clothes because you're turning into a better version of yourself. Is it always so easy to convince people that way? I don't think so. But we're still trying.
Yeah. Yeah. So point blank, again, sorry if I came across a little harsh.
Gary V, like very Gary V.
I've been in I've been in these shoes before, but again, it's thinking about where you are, why you can't change. Are you setting yourself up with all these excuses, and how can you change your excuses to be things that actually help you in the long run to make some permanent changes?
Yes, Pam. That's fantastic. I think that's good.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Our next thing. Let's talk. You sent me an Instagram post earlier today.
It was yesterday.
It was yesterday. Okay. You sent me this Instagram post yesterday, not 5 minutes afterwards. I'm exaggerating. It wasn't 5 minutes afterwards. It was definitely after you sent it, but before the night ended. One of my friends sent me a message asking me what the best protein bar for him would be. He asked me a question. Hey, are RX bars good? He sent me a picture of an RX bar. Do you know what an RX bar is?
I do.
Okay. Yeah. So people who don't know, RX bar is like a whole natural, no preservative, no BS type of bar where it uses dates. Dates is the former and it's the binder, but then it also has egg whites and might have nuts or whatever. So it's very clean. I think it has like 6 grams of protein per bar. It's like 240 calories or something like that, right? It's got a lot of sugar. And he said, hey, is this a good protein bar? That was after you sent me an Instagram post of a Snickers ad where they added protein into a Snickers bar. And what was your follow-up?
I'm gonna read what I said. I don't want to. I cursed. I said, "LOL." What? This is what they put out. Now everyone's gonna think Snickers is healthy.
That's what we've come to. We've come to where the big brands are coattailing on health supplements.
Yeah. Because it's true. It's like if you sneak the word protein in there, even if it's like 2 grams of protein, people are like, but it has protein in it. So now I am the definition of health. And it's like, no. You got to look at the bar and like, what did they even add to get that protein in there? Like what type of BS product did they use? It's going to be some sort of like super processed type of, not good for you protein. Because a few episodes ago, when we talked about supplements and we talked about different protein powders and the difference between protein powders, that some were these, clean ones that were had fewer ingredients, and some were like jacked up with sugar, carbs, fat, whatever it may be. So what type of protein are they using to put into this candy bar? I had also said to you, Jordan Syatt, and again, I reference him a lot, Jordan Syatt, big in the fitness and nutrition industry. He says that if you're going, you might as well eat a candy bar if you're eating some type of, nutrition or protein bar, whatever it may be. And I'm not saying that all of them are bad for you, because some of them aren't terrible. Like RX isn't terrible because it's quote unquote clean, but when you look at how big that bar is and how many calories are in it, and the other ingredients, I mean, you're so much better off having a protein shake and a handful of nuts, really, for like the same amount of calories, maybe even less. And it'll probably hold you over longer too. Because for me, like having a protein bar, which I have probably like once a year at this point, because it's like a true treat for me, that doesn't hold me over. I would put that on top of like my yogurt or something like that, but it's like 200 something calories. Some of them are like 300 something calories. Our point is that we as people are specifically marketed to get our minds to want to buy something. So these bigger companies, such as, Snickers, they're saying, what can we do to get people to buy our candy bar? Oh, if we put protein in there and we advertise that it's protein, then we look healthier. So when people see the candy rack in the candy aisle, and they're trying to choose which candy bar they want, when they see Snickers has 10 grams of protein in it, they're going to choose that over the Twix, because they're going to say to themselves, this is a healthier option. And it's not. But it's not just Snickers. Like, that was the example that kind of kickstarted this. It's with so many other things, is that people unknowingly choose these types of options because they're advertised as being organic or gluten-free or dairy-free, and people choose them because they think that they're making a healthier option. But these products are designed to get you to buy them. They're very specifically tailored to do that. And it's up to you to know that they're trying to trick you. Not always, but sometimes. And so that's why it's super important to read the labels and the ingredients and the nutrition facts to A, find the best bang for your buck, and B, to kind of get behind on which products are worth buying and which ones aren't.
And that's the hard part about figuring out which supplements are good and which supplements aren't, because the supplement industry is not regulated. Something like Snickers, they can make all sorts of claims that they want, but the FDA, they can't make any claims, and they can't make any medical diagnosis claims. They can't say that they can cure or treat a particular disease, but they could say, oh, the protein in here may help you lose weight. They can say things. They could say stuff like that. It gets around the regulations because the Food and Drug Administration does not regulate supplements that tightly. They have certain things, but you can bet your butt that Snickers is not regulated.
They could make like a collagen-infused Snicker bar, and everyone's going to be buying it, and like, they're going to be advertising it. And it's just like, it's the same thing with the whole like sugar-free fad and the fat-free fad going on. Just because something's fat-free, just because something's sugar-free, if it's not natural, that means that it's processed to some type of level. That means that they took something out and they added something in, and they're trying to sucker you in to thinking that their product is healthier for you than another product, and that is not always the case. Boom.
Boom, mic drop. Before we move on with the supplement stuff, I want to interject. I'm sure there are a couple more, but there are only three. I'm German right now. Three. Tres. Oh, wait. Tres is not German. There are only 3 proven supplemental nutrients shown in research to improve performance, ergogenic performance. Ergogenic aid is what they're called. And all 3 of them start with the letter C. You got carbohydrates. We talked about this earlier. Carbohydrates have been, caffeine,
creatine,
and creatine. These are the only 3 supplements with a long proven track record. There are other supplements out there that have a good track record. It's not long though. So there aren't that many long-term studies about these. And a lot of them are health supplements, right? For example, L-citrulline has a pretty good track record. Beta-alanine has a pretty good track record. Beta-alanine is an anti-fatigue agent. They have it in a lot of pre-workouts. If somebody does pre-workout and you get the tinglies, that's beta-alanine. Citrulline, beta-alanine. There are some other supplements that have been, like L-arginine can work for some people, but there are some other supplements, general health supplements, that have good results. CoQ10, NAC, probiotics, digestive enzymes, resveratrol. These are some other general health supplements that have a good track record. But when we're talking about, we want to get you more fit, the only three that we're going to strongly consider from the beginning: carbohydrates, caffeine, and creatine. Everything else is like gravy. Right? These are the mashed potatoes. These are steaks and steak and potatoes. But going back to Snickers, if you look at the label of Snickers, it doesn't look all that different, like you said, from other protein bars. And echoing Jordan Syatt's sentiments, and most protein bars are just glorified candy bars.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Snickers is. I've never eaten a Snickers high protein bar, but I can only imagine that Snickers would not stray too far away from their brand taste. Because like you said, people they have a comfort zone. If somebody likes Snickers, they still want the taste of Snickers, but they also want to tell themselves, oh man, I'm being a little bit healthier by having this protein in the Snickers. Whether or not that extra protein is really going to encourage somebody to make better decisions is still up. The jury's still out on this. If them eating a Snickers bar, a high protein Snickers bar, will help them, will be the catalyst towards making healthier decisions later on, I am all for it. But we know, you and me know through our experience, that is usually not the case.
Mm-hmm.
Most people will use a high protein Snicker bar to justify that they're being healthier, but not really commit to more of an overhaul.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. So our message to you is, we're not necessarily bashing the supplements per se. We are trying to look at supplements in a critical eye of how they're actually being used. Because there are some people who will use supplements as a crutch and say, hey, look, I'm being healthy, right? I'm taking this supplement. But if those supplements can be used as a catalyst to change, then we are all for it. Even if it's not what we would prefer, there are other protein bars out there that are probably more healthy, that are probably get people closer to their goals faster. Yeah. But if somebody's not willing to do those supplements, but are willing to do another supplement, but still make incremental progress towards change versus not making any at all, we're going to take what we can get.
Yep. And that's that.
Word up, homie. Word up, homie.
Have anything else to say?
I think I'm pretty good.
Yeah.
I put out a couple of Facebook posts earlier today that got some pretty good reactions, but I'm not going to go into them yet. I thought today's discussion was pretty good. What's holding you back? If you have listened up to this point, you probably trying to question yourself as to what is holding you back. What is holding you back?
Yeah.
And write down or think about it, write down. If you write it down, that's cool. If it's going to traumatize you, then don't do it. But write down what might be holding you back, and try to get a little bit deeper. Try to see if there is a root cause, because there's a reason why some people have comfort zones.
Yeah.
I think we're going to dive into this for a couple of more minutes, but I think it's important. It's going to piggyback off of what we talked about earlier today. It deals with the fixed mindset. The fixed mindset really epitomizes the essence of the fixed mindset is being stuck in a comfort zone. The question is, why does somebody have that fixed mindset to be in that comfort zone? Could it be because, I don't know, maybe one too many times in their lifetime they've been too harshly criticized, or they've been too overly praised?
Yeah.
Somebody who has been overly praised might be deathly afraid of failure. But somebody who has been harshly criticized might be overly afraid to succeed. I am in the former camp, even though my mother was the black sheep. I really didn't have much of a potential. If you looked at what my childhood was like, you thought, oh my God, this is another kid in poverty. He's not really gonna whatever. I got lucky because my mother met my white stepfather, so I got really, really lucky. Unfortunately, having been in poverty didn't really change my mother's mindset about me going to an Ivy League, being a lawyer, being a doctor, or whatever, without giving
Yeah.
me the necessary resource. Like, I wasn't born a genius. Just because you tell me I should be a doctor or a lawyer doesn't mean I'm going to become one. And most doctors and lawyers probably had tutors when they were younger,
Yeah.
right? I didn't. And of course, I didn't end up being a doctor or a lawyer. I ended up being a personal trainer and a registered dietitian, which I have no complaints about.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to compare. I'm trying to identify why, despite not being this hugely successful person, I am afraid of failure, or I was afraid of failure. And it's because my mother drilled into my brain that I needed to get straight A's. And whenever I did well, she would overly praise me. She said, "You absolutely cannot fail. You can't do poorly. Your uncle, he is the director of anesthesiology at Johns Hopkins University. His kids are pharmacists, lawyers, and dentists. You have to bring honor to our name." And as such, I was so scared of failing because failing meant consequences, not necessarily for the way it's supposed to be. If you fail, it should be a learning experience. Okay, I failed. What did I do incorrectly? How can I improve? But for me, failing meant, oh shit, oh, sorry, excuse my language. I am a deficient person. Something is wrong with me. I'm stupid. I'm an idiot. I'm a failure.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And on the other hand, you have people who are afraid to succeed because they've been harshly criticized or judged their whole life. It's like, and they just feel undeserving.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, the main point is believe in yourself. We believe in you. And just know that change is uncomfortable, but change also brings about really great things. And so, as David says, like, look at what's holding you back. If you need to write it down, write it down. I'm huge on analyzing myself and my behavior and reflecting on it, the good and the bad, and writing things down too, to hold myself accountable. And I have found that by doing that, even though it's uncomfortable at times, it does bring about positive change. And so you could do it. You just got to put your 1 foot forward day by day. Yep.
And
5-minute actions, prep your day. So if like a 5-minute action, if you want to make sure that you get up at 5:30 in the morning to work out, then maybe you set your alarm and you put it across the room. That way you have no choice but to get up and turn it off. Maybe your 5-minute action is getting your meal together for the next day for work. Maybe your 5-minute action is putting all your gym clothes together by your briefcase before you go to bed at night. So that way in the morning, when you walk out the door, you take your gym bag with you and you're prepared for what the day will bring. Yes, that 5-minute action. We learned that from Precision Nutrition.
I love that. And then to make it even more specific, write down 3 things that you want to achieve that day.
I do that every day.
Yeah, you do.
Yep.
Yeah, you do. That's why you're so successful.
Quick 3. I call it the quick 3. I call it the quick 3. It's like 3 quick things. My quickly, what 3 things am I accomplishing for the day, and check it off as I go. And it's so satisfying to do it too.
And then if you're just getting started on the quick 3 prep your day journey, write down 3 things, but then prioritize those 3 things. What is the one thing that you absolutely have to get done that day? If you had to choose one thing out of 3, what is that one thing?
Yep.
Pam's a superstar, so she can knock it all. She can knock it out. Her pen is running out of ink because she's too busy making all those check marks.
Too busy laughing. Laughing. Oh my God. I don't even know why I just said laughing. Too busy. I don't even know.
It's
So
late,
that's how
Pam.
we know that it's time to go.
It's
All
time to
right,
go.
everyone.
All right. So this is episode 13. Pam, you want to do the outro too? Since you did the intro, might as well finish the sandwich.
Sure. So thank you for joining us, guys, and we will see you next week. As always, what is it? Be strong.
I think so.
What do you like? Yeah.
Be
Be
strong.
strong. Be strong. Be powerful. Strong by Lee, Power by Pam. If you have any questions, reach out to us. Our emails are at the bottom. See everyone next time.
Peace out, homeboys and girls, and everyone in between.